The first one will be at the stand first, and the other 5 will sit down. And then we'd ask you to stay up here until all 6 of you have spoken, and then go sit down. We'll call 6 more. Okay?
Honorable Mayor, Town Council, guests, citizens of Belhaven, area citizens, and hospital supporters. Thank you for asking me again to present an opinion on health care in the Punga District and Hyde County service areas, involving a population of 20,000 who are mostly poor and old, representing a medically underserved and economically deprived area. Why am I qualified to make a statement on local health care needs? Having been a physician for 53 years with 49 and a third of those years here in Belhaven, attending thousands upon thousands of patients, working virtually and on call 7 days and nights for most of these years. With duties on the hospital staff, covering the emergency room and managing the clinic with 3 physicians and staff of 22 employees, serving as medical director of Hyde County MS Hyde Health Department Cross Creek Nursing Home probably qualifies me to say something and have some insight as to what type of healthcare services are needed in this area. Yet, not a single person in the Vidant operation has sought any local input on medical input on health care or Vidant Punga Hospital closure. My experience as mayor for 30 years and town council member for 7 years also provides some knowledge on local government, politics, and economics. Serving on many committees with the North Carolina Academy of Family Physicians and the North Carolina Medical Society, and being president of the Academy has provided me expertise in health care far beyond the local and regional areas. Now that I'm probably qualified to comment on health care in the Punga District, just what is my opinion on closure of our hospital? Punga District Hospital, and more recently, Vidant Punga Hospital, has served our people for 65 years as a well-recognized community hospital, classified as a 49-bed acute care critical access facility, established as the first Hill-Burton hospital in the United States, opening in 1949. Hospital services have been comprehensive and include emergency department, modern lab and x-ray, endoscopy, cardiology, nephrology, physical therapy clinics, along with vent beds, rehabilitation beds, psychology services, etc. Of all departments, the emergency department is the most significant due to the vast service area involving all of Hyde County and eastern Beaufort County, with a high incidence of heart disease, strokes, water and farm trauma, hypertension, diabetes, and chronic obstructive pulmonary disease. To repeat, this area is medically underserved, and our people chronically, economically deprived, 85% Medicare and Medicaid, representing mostly the old and the poor. Due to budget problems, but with still positive finances, meaning that all bills were paid, we had a little bit of money left in the bank, affiliation was sought with University Health Systems, now Vidant Central. The contract, as reviewed on multiple occasions by the Board of Trustees, the administrator, and the medical staff, provided for the following conditions and was favorable and well received in 2012. This contract, as implemented in 2012, provided the following: Punga District Hospital will not be closed. Administrative assistance will be provided. Outpatient clinics will be added to those present. Purchases of medical supplies and equipment will be cost-saving through Vidant. Medical training programs will be added. Mutual support will be provided. Medical record system will be installed at the hospital in 3 clinics through a grant made to Vidant. This has been completed at the hospital only, not at any of the clinics. Hospital physical plant will be updated, repaired, and maintained. Staff recruitment will include physicians and nurses. Significant capital improvements and the physical plants were to be done. The Vidant Pantigga Creek LLC contract has been violated at every provision of this contract. As a result of this contract breach, healthcare deprivation and economic disaster for our town, area, and our people looms on the immediate future. Then comes the shocker. After the first year of Vidant affiliation, Vidant Punga Hospital will be closed in April 2014, and our full-service acute care critical access hospital will be replaced with a primary care clinic, not a multi-specialty clinic as has been advertised, with no emergency services. And that's the main point that we are missing here. No advice was sought locally, and the decision was unilateral and final by Vidant. Word from Vidant was that there would be no compromise except the hospital closure with loss of all assets, and accept the proposed primary care clinic with no emergency room, or otherwise Vidant would pull out all support and leave the entire area without health care, as they also had gained control of the 3 local medical clinics. No communication was made to the medical staff or other hospital personnel prior to the announced closure. Little effort was made to fully honor the 2012 contract as it was drawn up and signed by the University Health Systems at that time, which is now Vidant Central. Vidant would control all bank accounts and accounts receivable, and just recently they would also be given the hospital building, the grounds, and all equipment amounting to millions of dollars. I'm frequently asked how I feel about the closure of our comprehensive community hospital of 65 years being replaced with a primary care clinic and an urgent care and no emergency room. First, I feel sad and I feel bad, then disappointed with the breach of contract by Vidant and their failure to communicate and a failure to correct plant and financial deficiencies early on. Then I'm angered with the threats of loss of health care for our people who have poor access to care beyond Belhaven. The lack of updated EMS services in eastern Beaufort and Hyde counties with the loss of the Golden Hour in emergency services and transport remains a dominant factor in the Vidant Punga Hospital closure. Also, additional loss of specialty clinics, diagnostic lab, and x-ray units, plus the latest announcement of loss of the building, grounds, and all hospital equipment simply adds fuel to an unpleasant situation. Our people in our area would have fewer health services than 65 years ago, with Punga District Hospital and 4 physicians providing health care to the area. Recruitment of physicians and medical personnel will be near impossible under the present circumstances and proposals with no hospital and no emergency room. The town of Belhaven will be severely and negatively impacted economically, with $400,000 loss in utility services, loss of retirees and their investment, loss of 100+ employees, with more job loss looming ahead. A small primary clinic is not an equal trade-off for a 49-bed acute care critical access facility with emergency department, multiple clinics, full lab, high-quality x-ray services, and other positive attributes. And now, our Pantiga LLC, created to save and protect the stockholders and the people's investment. Along with Vidant Central, has just announced that all assets of our community and People's Hospital has been signed over to Vidant, including the building, the land, the investments, the accounts receivable, and the hospital equipment valued into the millions of dollars. This is not a fair trade-off for a clinic with limited services. Even with announced cost of $4.2 million for the clinic as it is now, the hospital property and building and equipment in there has been valued at $9.6 million. So there's a tremendous difference in equity between the two comparisons. So it was also estimated that the new clinic would be losing $1 million a year in operation for several years. We were only losing $1 million or less than $1 million, $600,000 and up to $1 million at the hospital with a full service operation, and that would open 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. We had tremendous services that I've just reviewed for you, and under these certain conditions that we have now to operate with the healthcare situation as it is, we did lose money, but we're losing less money than Belhaven has indicated that would be lost in this new clinic that's proposed. And I'm supposed to be happy, pleased, and satisfied and appreciative with Vidant's breach of contract, reduction into health care for our people, and economic disaster for our town. I know what it means to be able to pay town bills. When I became mayor a few years ago, we didn't have enough money to pay our bills, and we had to sit down and sort out what bills we were going to pay from week to week until we could get our heads above water. Of all considerations, loss of the emergency department services remains the most critical factor and my greatest concern for the health and welfare of the people. I personally am hurt, disappointed, unhappy, and internally angry with the destruction of health care in the Punga District Medical Service area, affecting 20,000 persons, with 85% of those being old and poor, coupled with an impending economic disaster for our town due to loss of jobs and businesses and a significant reduction in municipal income. All of this is occurring right before us with virtually no local input or arbitration. Take it as it is, as we have decided, or we will pull everything out decision, leaving our people and a destroyed healthcare system and a destroyed economy. The hospital closure certainly will have the following economic effects on the service area, and I always include all of Hyde County and eastern Beaufort County as our service area. More than 100 jobs lost with more to come, $400,000 in utility bill charges and other lost revenue for the town of Belhaven. Loss of retirement population relocated into Belhaven. Closure businesses, loss of jobs and population and services, population loss. Increased cost of health care services for those forced to travel long distances for medical treatment and services, especially those who cannot afford the cost. Everybody doesn't have a full tank of gas in a car out in the backyard ready to make a trip. That represents 85% of our population right there that are in difficulty as we consider the closure. Now, in addition to the significant reduction in municipal income, all of this is occurring, as we've said, with no input and no communication. I agree with Dr. Ben Carson on healthcare philosophy. Get the government and financially motivated big conglomerates out of healthcare and let the people decide for themselves what healthcare they would like to have and what is most appropriate for each community. It's easy to sit in another county and have a discussion around a conference table about what we need in this service area. They do not have an understanding of what it's all about. And that's where the problem is. If they had come down and lived and discussed and known something about our people and what we need and what we are put up against economically and medically, I think that they would have had a different decision. But it's easy to sit in the hall of plenty and make decisions about what you're going to have and what kind of meal you're going to eat and how often you can eat in a day. And that has to do with that as well as health care. So Vidant, please don't do our people and our area any more favors regarding health care. It has been disastrous. Simply return to the contract you signed and do no more than you promised. If they could only realize that. Because if any of us are not worth our word, we're not worth much else. And if you promise and sign a contract that you will provide these areas of service to our area and our community, as I have read them out for you, that's what I expected. And frankly, I was chief of staff when this decision was made and the contract signed. I know what we discussed at those meetings. I know what notes that I took said. I know what the contract provided for. And it was a very satisfactory, healthy contract, good for our community and our area, should it have been attended to. But the contract was not followed, and it's not being followed now, and we have just become involved in the process of giving everything else we got away, which represents the community assets, not just the LLC assets. They only have a piece of paper with a certificate of shareholder certificate. The people of Belhaven are the ones who've contributed to that hospital and made a hospital. We have worked long and hard. We've gone out and gotten all sorts of grants and programs and fundraisers to have all of the x-ray equipment that we have over there, which is second to none for a small community hospital. So that's what I'm aggravated about. We should not trade off a $9.6 million acute care critical access hospital with emergency room, helipad, clinics, x-ray lab, and 49 beds for $4.2 million primary clinic with no emergency room. If you're going to have good health care in Belhaven, in this area, you gotta have an emergency room. You can't do it with urgent care. You can't do it in my office. I know, and I've been there. We can do better. And the generation before us did better. In 2 years, they created a hospital and had 5 doctors here. We won't even be able to bring another doctor to town, I don't know in what number of years. You might get some that would be assigned to come and take care of the people in the area. But as far as having a physician who wants to move to this area with their families and become a part of the community, they need to have a little bit more security than what is upon us today. I thank you for your time and your patience and courtesy of not interrupting that tonight. It's pleasant to be with you. Thank you.
Let me just say, first of all, my name is Mark Beamer. I'm one of the physicians practicing in town. And I agree with everything that Dr. Boyette said. As part of the medical staff, when the agreement that we have with Vidant came through, and they have not held up their end of the bargain. However, the things that we have to look for now, what can we do? You know, let's not sit here and be defeated. One, we have to look at the contracts that the actual physicians have with Vidant, because I've heard 2 different stories, and I've been told 2 different things. Before the vote with the LLC, I had heard that if we did not support the closing of the hospital, that they would terminate our contract, the physicians in town, with Vidant. I called. Verbally, I was told that that was not true, that they would not build the big multi-specialty center. We wouldn't need that as long as we had our hospital and had our emergency room. However, according to other people on the LLC and some of the physicians in town, had seen a signed copy that they would pull their support. So number one, we need to figure out from Vidant's standpoint, are they going to support the local physicians? Because regardless, whether we have a hospital or not, we need local medical care. Number two, it's going to come down to financing. We're going to have to figure out how we can be creative, everybody putting their heads together where we can come up with some money, because this is not going to be free of charge. Whether we have a company that comes in and manages us, we're going to have at least 3 months of capital overhead so that we can pay the nurses, pay the electricity bill, pay all these other things. Coming up with that is where we all need to get together and put our heads down. The third aspect that we're going to have to look at is who is going to manage us. Obviously, we don't have any bunch of people banging on the doors trying to buy us, okay? That would be great. But as we saw with the previous company that was looking at us, they don't have the best track record. I really believe that if we had a company that came in that had a good track record, that had adequate financing, the LLC would go ahead and support us maintaining our local hospital. I truly believe that. And that's all I have to say, because I support it.
Hello. My name is Nikki Daniels. I'm the unit director at the Boys and Girls Club. And sometimes we fail to realize that this is our community's children's future. This town is their future. And so we posed the question at the Boys and Girls Club, what does a hospital mean to you? And so we have a few members of the club that came out and would like to speak to you.
What's important to you about what?
The hospital, Mom.
The hospital.
Tell me about your brother.
My brother had a light concussion, and Belhaven Hospital really helped him out. That's why I love Belhaven Hospital.
My name is Nina Thomas, and I'm on the board of directors for the Boys and Girls Club. And we have, in every given day, about 50 or 60 children there at the Boys and Girls Club, engaged in all type of activities and sports and that sort of thing. And if at any time someone was hurt playing basketball or any kind of injury, we certainly would need the hospital available to look after our youth. And we need the hospital, we are interested in keeping the hospital open in Belhaven just to service our youth, the Boys and Girls Club. Thank you.
Mayor, council, all the guests here tonight. I'm sure most of y'all know me. My name is Arthur Bonner. And my concern about the hospital is this. I have some kind of serious illness, and most of the time I go to the veteran hospitals in Durham and Fayetteville, and also the clinic in Greenville. For instance, today I had a serious problem with the gout, and in order for me to get it treated by the veterans meant I had to go to Durham. And I was hurting so bad there was just no way I could drive to Durham this morning. So I chose to go to Pungo District Hospital, where I always go, and get treatments from it. And when I was down there this morning, it occurred to me that, hey, they're closing this place. You know, what are you gonna do? 2 o'clock in the morning when the gout jump on you, or your blood pressure's out of whack, or what have you. Where are you going? You know, you gotta go 30, 60, 100 miles just to get medical service. And in pondering on that, I become very sad and also angry. And I'm very angry about it now that it's closing, but I'm gonna try to hold that anger down. But nonetheless, I still feel that what has taken place, God has a hand in this. Amen. And, you know, LLCs say they want it closed, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But what about God? He hasn't made his final judgment on this yet. And I have faith to believe that God can do all things. And if he get involved, which he is involved, because a lot of prayers been going out for this hospital. So therefore, if we keep our faith and believe, we need we got to have faith to believe in something. And if we believe in it, things will turn around. Even though things are right at the bitter end now, but nonetheless, you got God in it. It will work. Trust, I know what I'm talking about. But nonetheless, this is what I had to say. It saddens me to know that they're trying to close it. Notice what I said, trying to close it, because it's not yet closed. And it saddens me, it really does. And all my family have attended there all their lives, and my young'uns and grandchildren and et cetera. But it is what it is, but I haven't given up on it. You know, people tell me the hospital is going to close. I look at them, yeah, okay. You know, because I got faith to believe it'll stay open. You know, so if I'm the only one got faith to believe it, so if it does not close, y'all come find Arthur. Y'all come find Arthur, okay? Because I do believe it will stay open. So this is my belief, and I thank y'all for listening to what I had to say.
My name's Richard Whitaker. I live here in Belhaven just about 8 years now. And I promised my wife I'd keep my temper. She's back here gawking at me, I know she is. But anyway, Mrs. Watson, across the street from us, 75 years old. She's the nicest person you ever want to meet. Warm-hearted, do the word for you. Last night at 5 o'clock in the morning, she had a pain in her chest. And she couldn't catch her breath. So they took her down to Pongo, and fortunately she got stabilized. They called for the helicopter. No helicopter available. Fog. So they sent an ambulance down. How long do you think it's going to take to get that ambulance down here to her and then back up again? Now, we don't know right now what kind of state she's in, but I pray to God she makes it. We need people like that. And I'm sitting here shaking because these people would rather have $1 than to save a life. That's unbelievable. So thank you very much.
You're next.
Good evening, everybody.
Mr. Ballard, Thomas, Mr. Ballard. Mr. Ballard, hold for 1 second. I think one point that Richard told me about today that I think needs to be pointed out is that the emergency room told her family that if it had been 15 more minutes, she would have died. That's something.
15 more minutes, that was it.
So that lady would probably.
We don't know if she has or not. We don't know.
Yeah, so that lady right there would probably be dead. The Methodist preacher would be dead. There's many people we know already that would have been dead with no emergency room.
Exactly.
That's real. Now, if it was Vidant's executives losing family, I bet they'd have a different tone on this. But it's not them. And like Dr. Boyett says, they're in Pitt County going to tell us what kind of health care we're going to have. It's like we've been invaded by the Russians, and the Russians are going to tell us what we're going to have. We don't have a say anymore. The Russians have come to Belhaven, and they wear Vidant uniforms. Thank you.
My name is Thomas Ballard. I'm the pastor of the church here in Belhaven, Mount Gilead. And I was born here, and I was really shocked to hear of the attempt, as we want to call it today, to close this hospital. I don't have any dire reports, as my gentleman just left here, but from what I heard Dr. Boyett, his report, and that report is enough to anger anybody, to make anybody aware of the seriousness of anyone taking this hospital away from Belhaven. And what I heard was that Vidant has grown to be a monster with a huge head, and only eyes can see what it was to see without a heart of compassion for the people that's going to be affected by the removal of this hospital. It is sad, and I'm praying, as a brother before me, to the God of heaven that is full of compassion and knows all things, that he will move in our behalf tonight, that this hospital will not close. God bless you. Thank you for listening to me.
Good evening. My name is James Lee Cox. Most everybody know me here in Belhaven by Joe Cox. But I want to say I'm 64 years old, and I've been here in Belhaven all my life. I've been a commercial fisherman, and I worked all the way from Key West, Florida to Nova Scotia. And I have had ailments which was congested heart failure. And Coast Guard had to come get me off the boat and bring me into the hospital. And coming to Pungo District Hospital, I tell you, if it wasn't for them, and mentioning Dr. Boyett was my doctor, and Dr. Bamer before him, they was two of them that worked on me and helped save my life through the emergency room. I've had small and large intestine voucher, and they had to cut a piece of my large and small intestine out of my body so that I would live. For 4 months, only thing I could eat was one small cup of ice cube. And I was so getting low in vitamin, they had to run a needle down through my shoulder in my body to give me vitamins to keep me going. But I just want to say today, without having Pungo District Hospital and emergency room, I tell you, if we do had to leave and go to Washington or Greenville, it's going to be a lot of people that's going to lose their life. And I just want to say to the people of Vighton, whoever is trying to close the hospital down, I want you to think about this, because one thing about it, God is our author and he's our finisher. And he got the first and last say in everything. And I do want to say this, remember your children. Okay, right now, you're sitting up behind the desks in Greenville or wherever. You're smoking your cigars. You're having people to bring you coffee because you're a millionaire, a billionaire, and you don't care about the people down here because we don't have the money like you have. But remember, your children is going to have to look at Belhaven. If one life get lost because of losing it, you is going to have to look at that. Your children is going to have to look at these things, and it's going to be with them for the rest of their life. And I just want to say, I pray to God tonight that our hospital continue to stay open, the emergency room, because we need it. And I'm not standing here to try to make no show, just to be talking. And I want to stand here and you look at my stomach and my side, and you can see where I have been operated on and where the doctors and everything took care of me. And after all that, I have since gone to the School of Ministry. I have finished. I've got my diploma. I have been ordained deacon. This is my pastor here behind me, Pastor Thomas Ballard. And I tell you, God has been good. But speaking to the people of whoever is in charge of trying to get our hospital here in Belhaven closed, you better think twice. Because if God is for us, who can be against us? No one. And I just want to tell you tonight, you know, God can do anything but fail. And if we got the faith without doubt, then things will work. So we just got to pray, fast, and just continue to ask God to be with us at all times. And if we do that, and like I say, have that faith without doubt, and just say, Lord, we're going to put this in your hand. And I guarantee you, it'll be a change here in Belhaven. Our hospital emergency room will stay open. Thank you.
Good evening. I am terribly nervous. I'm sorry. My name is Jessica Rogers, and I've been a resident of Belhaven, North Carolina for 7 years. However, I have been coming to Belhaven since I was 8 months old. I just want to tell you tonight that the closing of this hospital is going to affect my family greatly. And it's going to do that by leaving one of my aunts unemployed. It's going to leave my grandmother, who will be 86 on Friday, without emergency facilities, and she has congestive heart failure as well. Which means that if she goes to sleep one night and her water pills don't work because she may have an infection in her body, the water or the fluid is going to build up around her heart, and it may slow her pulse down, and it's done that before. And if she hadn't been taken to the emergency room, she wouldn't be here. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for her, so I'm going to speak up for her today. You know, she can't come out like she'd like to, although I wish she could. And I think she would be proud of me in this moment to know that if no one else will, I'll speak up for her. Saturday, the young man spoke about his brother having a light concussion. He fell on the basketball court, hit his head twice. He had to be airlifted to Greenville. Now, the people that were on the basketball court rushed him into a car and rushed him to the hospital. Had they had to rush him to Greenville, what would have happened? He came too, but you know, anything can happen in that trip from here to Greenville. You know, car accidents happen here. People have to travel from Hyde County to come here to go to the hospital. So many things can take place in such a short period of time. You just don't know what's going to happen. I'm standing here not only representing my grandmother, but for the young people who feel defeated because it's been said, they're just gonna close the hospital. We can't do anything. We can. We have mouths. There's so many people who marched in our history to make ways for us to be able to open our mouths and say so much. And now, because we've been defeated by a big business, we're saying nothing. Well, I've been opening my mouth for several weeks since the last meeting on Facebook, and it came to the place where people were inboxing me saying, well, why didn't you speak up? I did, but you know, the mayor had to close the meeting. But the bottom line is, when all of those members of Pantiggle LLC, who are several years older than me, are gone, and I'm left with their children, and their children's children need care like my child may need care, where are they gonna go? They're gonna go to Greenville? Do they live in Greenville? Are they close to Greenville? Do they have cars? Will they break down? Will they have gas? Is it something gonna flood? They don't know what's gonna happen. So it's amazing to me that these people can come in and make a decision for me that I didn't ask them to make. I've been on the internet because I'm always gonna question everything I hear. And I've done the research and seen that if they're gonna close the hospital April 1st, but there was supposed to not be a gap in between the time they close the hospital and get the clinic, and it's gonna take 12 to 18 months, and I live across the street from where it's supposed to be, where is that? I went to Food Lion today, and I looked behind me and said, hey, where's the clinic? You know, we joke and we laugh because it's real. We laugh to shelter ourselves from the pain of knowing that these people are coming in and saying, we're poor, majority black, we're probably uneducated, we don't have insurance. Well, I am college educated. I graduated in 2011. I do have insurance as well as the fact that I'm self-employed, so I'm not too incompetent or stupid to think that I don't need a hospital. I had my gallbladder removed in 2007, and before that happened, I was having complications. I was hospitalized there. My father is 69 years old. His body is physically capable, but his mind is not. What if he walks out the house and falls and busts his head open? Where am I supposed to take him? Greenville? I don't even own a car yet, but I will be getting one. But I can't depend on the fact that I'm about to get a car to get me to the hospital if my dad is going down. You know, that's what I got. That's my dad. You know, if my daughter gets sick at school at Northeast Elementary, closest hospital is Pungo. What are they going to do? Rush her to Beaufort and she's going to die on the in-between? How are they going to explain that? You know, it's a terrible thing to think that someone can come in, someone or some they or whoever can come in and say, we don't care about y'all, because that's what they're saying. They don't care about you, Miss Sophie. You know why? Because they want to get $1. Like he said, close the hospital. Dr. Herman wrote that, you know, although we hate to close the hospital, you don't hate it, you love it because you're gaining some money. That's business. That's what I went to school for, so I know. If you're going to cut some costs and is going to be able to get some money somewhere else to pad my pocket, I'm going to do that. But see, here's the thing that's better than anything. See, the love of money is the root of all evil. Not loving the money, the love of having money. You can have all the money in the world, but if the Lord said you're going to go, you're going to go. Now, if we have an opportunity to say, hey, you know what? We're going to let him live a little while longer. Let's put him on this ventilator, and he has to come to Pungo. Do we turn our hearts down to him or her or whomever and say, we don't want to service you because you was going to close the hospital? That's not godly. We're not going to do that. But that's what they're doing to us. I mean, I'm 33. I pray I'm 86 one day, and if I'm still in Belhaven, I would like to know that I'm still going to have a doctor. There are no pediatricians in Belhaven. Currently, you have to go to Washington Pediatrics. If there's an emergency and I have to take my child to Washington Pediatric, that's still way too far to go. If you have asthma, you're diabetic, your sugar levels go up to 486. That's comatose, you know, you can go in a coma. What if you don't wake up? I had a brother pass like that. I don't want to see anyone go through these situations, but if we don't open our mouths, or we don't write a letter, or we don't get on Facebook, we don't tell the news people, you know what, tell Vidant, no, we're not going to get the hospital closed. They need to find another way. If we can call in a company to do a business plan, and they can structure the business plan, maybe we may not choose them, but someone else is willing to do it. They're not the only company. It's been done in North Carolina, and say, hey, we can keep this hospital open. Why are they not trying to hear us out? I read a letter on the internet from the board of directors for the hospital saying they didn't promise us a hospital, so why did you sign the paper? You know that we need a hospital. The doctors know that they need patients to come to them so that they have a living, so that they can keep it here. I know that $400,000 worth of utilities being lost is not going to help us much. I'm a business owner for myself. I tutor. That means I'm teaching other people how to do what it is they need to do. And if I decide to open another business, which I'm already working on, and you're taking the people away, how am I supposed to get business? Come on now. They're trying not to just shut down the hospital. They're trying to shut down a town because they think we're not worth it. What are you worth? Are you worth more than this hospital? Of course you are. You are a God-made creature. You are worth everything. And these people have decided that you are not worth the time it will take to put some dirt on some farmland to build a clinic. Come on now, people. Now, like I said, I'm going to represent the young people that aren't here because they feel like, hey, they already said it, but see, that's why you got me, because I'm not going to take what you say and lie down with it because I'm from New York. I'm just not going to do it. But the bottom line is, if we have more people stepping up, doing what's encouraged, you got a paper off the table back there saying what you can do to get your voice heard. Civil rights wasn't just for black people. It was for everybody. Open your mouth. What can I say? And I'm not coming at you all being disrespectful, by no means. What I'm saying is voices can be heard. It's been done in the past. It's going to be done in the future. It's no need in tearing down generations now that want to speak because you feel defeated by the fact that Vidant has come in and done exactly the opposite of everything that they've written, and they have written it, and I have copied it, so they can't say they haven't. So it's not just the contract that they breached. They breached the promise to me when I go online and Google Vidant frequently asked questions Pungo Hospital, and it says there won't be a gap, and it says they will provide care, and it says that they're going to give me this, that over here, and everything else, but they're not giving me that because it's not even here yet. I'd rather have the emergency room, truthfully. Because if urgent care is going to be open 24 hours a day and the people aren't going to rotate and Dr. Boyette tired, you don't get a break? I'm just saying.
I need to ask a question. And then again, before that, I want to thank Dr. Boyette. He's been my doctor since 1966. I left here and came back here in 1991, and he's still my doctor. And that hospital has been my home, because I've had 3 open heart surgeries, 2 heart attacks, and a stroke. So it's been good for me. But I want to ask a question. See, when I'm in the street, y'all can hear me. Now nobody can hear me, right? But anyway, I want to know about the zoning law and the noise. Because where this is going to be situated, my husband can throw me across the canal. Because that's what it is, a canal that they're planning on building it on.
Please hold down the chatter.
So I wonder, is there anybody that can answer to me, because by the time they finish coming down, up and down with the heliport, because they did say they were going to build a helipad over there. My poor little house will be shook to death. It's 38 years old.
Well, I think you have a concern that many of us have. Vidant has chosen a piece of property that's completely unsuitable for a hospital.
Exactly.
It is zoned residential. There are people that live around there, have their primary home around.
Yes.
It basically has no road access.
It doesn't.
And it's wet. It's basically the extension of a canal.
You're soaked down in it to your ankles when it rains.
So, you know, the town has made them aware it's unsuitable. The town has made them aware it's not zoned for that, and they don't care. Just like the agreement they made with the town that they don't fulfill, they have no respect for our zoning laws. And they're already, they sent a public records request to the town, which we've fulfilled, that requires a stack of documents about like that. You know, so once again, you know, lawyers dealing with us instead of accepting one of 2 spots they were offered on Main Street. They were offered 2 pieces of property on Main Street to build a brand new building. Didn't pick, for free, didn't pick either one of them, paid $80,000 for a mud hole in a residential area.
It's right.
Now that's facts, people. So do you think they're going to build a clinic? Let's see.
No.
Okay. Thank you.
It's a fluke.
Yeah. All right. Thank y'all. Y'all can sit down.
My name is Thomas Selby. I'm one of the recreational coaches in this area. And when I started working with coaching the kids around here, I had a little saying, to prepare our present, we must preserve our past. So I work with the youth around here, and I want to say to the people that's trying to close our hospital, 3 Saturdays out of a football season, we have over 160 kids out here from the ages of 7 to 12, right across the street on the football field. When you're playing football, football can be a dangerous sport, and something can happen to one of our children out there. During basketball season, we have over close to 150 kids playing basketball 1 block away from here. A hospital is needed. During baseball season, which is coming up right now, we might have 200 to 300 kids out here playing baseball. Our hospital is needed. Not just to say for the elders, our hospital is needed for our youth. We must do something to make this area safe and secure for our youth. You know, doing all these sports, an injury could happen to a child at any given time. And who's to say what the chances that child have to take him 30 miles away when he might have a broken neck? Or who can say, you know, what may happen to that child if his back is out of order and he can't take him to the hospital to repair a nerve or something. So to the ones that's closing our hospital, think about our youth. To the people here in Belhaven, think about our future. Thank y'all.
Good evening. My name is Leon Thomas. I live at 354 West Pandigga Street. Where I'm standing tonight, I was standing here when I was a kid. I used to eat lunch in this room. That's over 50 years ago. I'm very concerned about the town, the people that live in the town, the elders, the kids, the people that worked at this town, made this town for what it is. And all of a sudden, we got to fight for our hospital. It makes you feel like you did all this fighting for nothing. Everybody sat back and said, well, you know what? I can leave this town and go to Washington, to Greenville, to the hospital. I got money. I got this. That might be all true. But what about kids is out here playing? They can get hurt. You got people, you got farmers. They get hurt. You got hunters. This is a dangerous town, the jobs that people have. These doctors is needed. We need emergency. We need it. It's nothing, it's no if and and about where the money going to come from. We have to find the money. We need it. If you don't find the money for the emergency room, you're going to have dead peoples, no town. You're not going to have anything. We got to find the money. It's just that simple. The money has to come from someplace. Otherwise, people's going to leave town. The one that don't leave is going to be dead. The kids going to be dead. This is inhumane. This is sad. This is a sad thing. I know Belhaven since I was a kid. I walk these streets. I know every street in this town. I know every store was in this town. I used to work for the police department in this town. I know all about Belhaven. I never seen anything like it. All of a sudden, we just give away everything. What's wrong? We need a hospital. Nothing else to say. Doctors just said it. There's nothing else to say. We need a hospital. We just need it. If we don't have it, we got nothing. You might well pack your bags and leave. You're going to die. So I'm concerned about the town. Not just me, not just my wife, not just my grandkids, my own kids is grown. They don't live here. I'm concerned about the town, period. It's a good town, good peoples, and we're just making a mess. Letting people just walk in and take everything. Who's going to stop the train? I hope somebody stop it. That's all I got to say. Thank you.
Good evening. My name's Ron Buzzio, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. You may ask why I'm here tonight, especially with my accent. But we've lived here for 15 years. My wife and I'm from the town of Chuckawinity. And I'm a pharmacist by education. I've been a pharmacist now for about 45 years. Haven't practiced in a number of years. And I'm very concerned. I've been following this issue in the newspapers. I've listened to your mayor speak now twice in front of the Board of Commissioners of Beaufort County. And I'm very concerned about the lack of emergency care in Eastern Beaufort County, and especially in the Belhaven area. I'm glad I came tonight to listen, because the only way I was going to learn this issue, and you may want to ask why, and I'll tell you in a second, was to come here and listen to the people. And I agree, they should be ashamed of themselves. Vidant should be ashamed of themselves at what they're doing to this county. Emergency care is extremely important. You've heard the doctors speak. You have an hour. They call it the golden hour. Do you imagine somebody being transported from here to Greenville or to Beaufort County Hospital in an hour, an ambulance to get here and travel in an hour? That's impossible. We will see deaths. And we cannot tolerate that. So again, I say, Vidant, you should be ashamed of yourself, what you're doing to this part of the county. Now, why am I here? It was to learn, but also to tell you I'm running for county commissioner. I wanted to learn this issue, and what I promise you, that when I'm elected, I will be your friend, and I will follow this issue continually, and as I campaign, I am going to bring this issue up every single time in front of every forum in this county. You must have emergency care in Belhaven. We must have emergency care throughout Eastern Beaufort County. Thank you very much.
Let's welcome Dr. Barber, the president of the
I heard they let you in. Yeah. First of all, let me just say how thankful I am to be welcomed back home. This issue is really personal for me, and I want to show you some. How many of you in here knew my daddy? Stand up. Or raise your hand. Okay, all right. How many of you in here knew Miss Desi, Miss Janie Mackey? Okay, how many of y'all in here are cousins of mine? Now, if you noticed, and it doesn't just have to be those who happen to be black, because in my ancestry from Eastern North Carolina, my family was white, Tuscaroran Indian, and African American. That's really the uniqueness of Eastern North Carolina. Whether we admit it or not, we are deeply connected. And east of 95 in North Carolina has always had to battle anyway. There's two places in North Carolina that's had to battle, east of North Carolina and western North Carolina. We've always had to battle for attention. We've always had to battle for resources. And when you think about the fact that this hospital was put here 60 years ago, that's 1950 what? 54?
48.
48, so it's over 60 years ago. I mean, 60 years ago is 1954. I mean, this hospital was put here 6 years before the Brown versus Board of Educators. And it was put here by a special act in Congress that recognized that poor people were not having access to medical care. And so there was an act of Congress that brought this hospital to rural eastern North Carolina. Now, maybe there was a day that some people couldn't go to it, but as time moved on, it became a facility where, regardless of your race or your color or your ability to pay, you had access. And that's why now there's a history in this community. People of different races, different colors, different political parties can all say, I was born at the hospital by the water. Or my mother's life was saved at the hospital by the water. Or my life was saved. Because this hospital historically has been a part of unifying this community. You know, somebody asked me the other day, Mayor, how are we together? You know, because his political party, they don't know what mine is. At one time it was independent. I don't know what it is right now. I do more, I just try to fight for what's right. It doesn't really matter to me. As the NAACP, we have no permanent friends, no permanent enemies, only permanent issues. But then I said to them, I said, but you know what you don't understand is that there are some things that bring people together. Let me tell you one of them. Talked to a number of soldiers, and they say when you're in a foxhole and bullets are red, you really don't worry about what color somebody is or what party they are. You just want to know, do they have your back? If the lights were to go off in here because we couldn't pay the light bill, it's amazing. You wouldn't know black or white because in the dark, all of us the same color. If you get sick and you need some blood transfusion, I don't know anybody that goes to the hospital and in the middle of the needing blood transfusion says, wait a minute, tell me, was that person Republican or Democrat or white or black? You just want to know if you were a type A, is that blood type A? And isn't it amazing? It doesn't matter what person's economic status was, what color they were. All that matters is their blood type. Because the Bible says from one blood, God has made all people. The other thing that brings us together is pain. Pain and the potential for pain. And that's what has brought us together. What this company is doing is immoral. I sat in a meeting with the mayor when we went to meet with Violence Board, and they suggested to us that they only have two choices. That is a choice of whether to hurt poor people in Belhaven or whether to provide care for poor children in their pediatric ward in Greenville. That's a false dichotomy. To always pit poor people against poor people. To make every decision about the bottom line when, number one, there are ways you could fix the bottom line, but you choose not to fix the bottom line. So it's immoral. So that's why I'm here tonight and wanted to tell you about this Title VI complaint. The Civil Rights Act of 1964 was an act of Congress too. A Republican and a Democrat sponsored it in 1964. It was passed. And the Civil Rights Act of 1964 in Title VI says that no entity that receives federal money can receive that money and then engage in actions which are discriminatory or that will have what is called a disparate impact on the protected groups, i.e. poor people, minorities, African Americans, women. can't do it. It's illegal. And so when we look at this 44-page contract that Vidant signed, and we look at how poor minorities and other people have been previously served by the Pungo Hospital, and how you would have statutory emergency rooms honored, and how in their contract they said, according to this Title VI, that they would respect the medical economic center of their public health system. And in their contract, that's why I like the mayor, he goes to the heart of the matter. In their contract, not what they felt that we will feel like doing this. They didn't say we might do this. They didn't say we could do this. In the contract that they signed with your community, they said they would maintain and strengthen this hospital. In other words, you would never have less services, and they would work to give you more services. Now, I don't know, I'm not being ugly, but I don't know how the other group, I heard in the paper that they said the contract wasn't violated. Well, we had 3 lawyers to read it. And we have in quotes here where they said what they signed, they would maintain and strengthen. In section 2.4.1.1, they said they would ensure that indigent care is available to the population of Beaufort and Hyde counties at the level related to needs as previously demonstrated by Pungo. This is their words. And I know they have good lawyers. I'm sure their lawyers went over every line of this. They said they would operate Pungo District Hospital within Pungo service areas as of the closing date as a community health care provider open to the general public, free of discrimination based on race, creed, color, sex, or national origin. That's what they said. And they said that meant, according to the contract, that when they say that they are going, in spite of the contract, to replace this hospital with a clinic with no emergency facilities, they have violated their contract and they have created a discriminatory action in this community. Vidant knew. There's no way they couldn't know it. Any good doctor would know. You've already heard doctors talk about that golden hour. They knew that their acts would cause premature deaths in adults and infants and other poor people of color. They had to know it. Not only that, we put in our complaint that Vidant agents knew while negotiating the terms. They had to know, because this happened in less than 2 years, that Vidant's real objective was to rid itself of what it perceived as the less profitable aspects of the Pungo District Hospital, including the emergency facilities, and replace these aspects with the highly profitable health services for middle and high-income people, because Vidant knew all along its real purposes. Its promise to maintain and strengthen the hospital was a pretext made in bad faith to cover the discriminatory policies and practices it planned. This is what our lawyers wrote in that complaint. Vidant knew that Pungo Hospital served about 25,000 patients per year from Beaufort and Hyde County, a poor, undeserved population that needs timely access to health services. And something else they knew. They knew that the Federal Emergency Medical Treatment and Active Labor Act ensures that all patients are screened and stabilized regardless of their ability to pay in emergency department. In other words, they know that if there's an emergency department there, they have to serve the people. Now, their word to us now is, well, just trust us. Just trust us. Huh? Trust us. I got a problem with that as a preacher, because the Bible tells me to put no confidence in man. Trust them. No, we don't need to trust them. We need a law. We don't need a promise. We need a law. We need an emergency room that's covered by the law. We don't need optional health care or optional emergency or optional treatment where you can or you can't. We need to have the full implementation, say this with me, of the federal emergency medical treatment and active labor act that ensures all patients are screened, stabilized, regardless of their ability to pay, regardless of their color, regardless of their party, regardless of anything in emergency departments. That's what we want. We want a facility protected by the law. It was an act of Congress that got this hospital here, and we want this hospital protected by the act of Congress that makes it illegal for you not to treat somebody when they come to an emergency room. And we demand nothing less. Now, the last thing, and I'm going to turn this over to my friends real quickly. And I apologize, I'm actually on my way to D.C. tomorrow as we're struggling with this issue of voting and protecting voting rights, and then on my way to Wisconsin. The other, what is that fly in the ointment? The other fly in the ointment is that our General Assembly voted to deny Medicaid. Now, I know some folk don't want to talk about this, and you may have some problems with the affordable health care. And look, anything human beings create has some problems. Amen, church. Let me prove that to you. How many of y'all have some children that didn't always do right? So anything a human being messes with is going to have some problem. But you didn't throw your children away. You corrected the problem, but you didn't throw them away. So there may be one or two problems with affordable care. But Teddy Roosevelt, a Republican, was the first one in the 1900s that called for every American to have health care. It was a Republican. That's a Republican idea. But one good thing about it, you have to agree with this down here in Eastern North Carolina, Medicaid expansion that would increase the number of poor people, not poor black people, but poor people that would have access to health care. Now, I grew up in Eastern North Carolina. There are a lot of poor people. Had nothing to do with color. There are a lot of poor people. When I used to take my little lunch box to school, little white guy would have his lunch box. We opened them, and both of them were poor, so come on. Sometimes all he had on his sandwich was jelly, and all I had on mine was peanut butter. And I say, man, give me half, you give me your top half, and I give them, we have peanut. So come on, y'all. There's some poor people down here, right? I don't care what color you are. And so the affordable health care would have covered 500,000 people in North Carolina. Now, I didn't bring tonight with me the number of people that would include both black and white in Hyde County, in Beaufort County. When our legislators, those that voted for it, you need to find out where yours voted, cut that meant that money would no longer be available. Now, Duke is having to lay off people because of that. UNC is having to lay off people. So you know the impact that it has to have in a hospital like Pungo. You see what I'm saying? So, having said that, I come to announce tonight that an investigator has been formally assigned to this Title VI case. The Office of Civil Rights has said formally that they are taking the case, Mayor, They have called on the Justice Department to speed up the investigation. Our lawyers will have at least 2 conversations with them this week. We are telling them that this is an emergency, and we need the intervention of the federal government. I tell people, don't always say you don't want the government involved. Sometimes you need the government involved. Secondly, we need you, especially the leadership here, the elected, you need to call Senator Hagan. The town council, y'all need to call her and say, Senator, we need you to push the office of civil rights. You need to call Walter Jones. You need to call him. If it's your cousin, call him. If he ain't your cousin, call him. Whoever, I mean, this is a time, if you're Republican, we need you. If you're Democrat, we need you. I'm serious. See, once you get elected, you're supposed to serve all the people. He needs to call Butterfield. You need to call G.K. Butterfield. Call him. You need to call Burr. You need to call Burr. They should not, because they oversee these laws as Congress people. You need to call them and tell them, we need you as our sitting senators and our sitting representatives to tell the Office of Civil Rights to get involved. In fact, the Office of Civil Rights has the authority to actually stop the closing until an investigation. Oh yeah, you know, the Office of Civil Rights, if they want to, if they get enough pressure, and let me tell you how they can do it. They'll pick up the phone and they'll say to Biden, we think we need to look into this and we need to have a mediation session with everybody. And Biden can say, we don't want to do that. They say, okay, well, we'll pull all the federal money. Since it's about money, I think Biden would listen. They understand that. And the Office of Civil Rights has that authority. But you need to call them. You need to call them. As a city town, I'm serious, as a town council. Call them and say, we need you to make sure this investigation is done. And you need to then call in your local senators, your state senators and state representatives. Now, I can tell you what they did because I got the report card out there, but I'm not going to tell them. I'm going to be nice. You need to ask them, did they vote against Medicaid expansion? Especially when 9 Republican governors have supported it and 9 Republican legislators. And you need to tell them in the short session, they need to repeal the denial. If they say, we don't like affordable health care, tell them that's not what you're talking about, the whole thing. If they don't like the part they don't like, fight about that. But this part called Medicaid expansion, everybody should like it because it helps the poor. And Jesus said, when I was hungry, did you feed me? I mean, good Christian can support that. And you need to tell them to repeal their decision and allow Medicaid expansion for poor people in this state so that people, poor, black and white, in these poor counties can have access, and so that Biden can't use that as an excuse to why they won't be able to handle the number of poor people coming through the doors. Those are 2 things you need to do. And I believe if we do them together, we can make a difference. You know, the scripture says it like this. This is the first week of Lent. If my people, who are called by my name, will humble themselves, pray, turn from their wicked ways, seek my face, and turn from their wicked ways, then will I hear from heaven, and I'll heal their land. We need a healing in the land. We need a healing in our businesses. We need a healing at Biden. We need a healing in this community. And if it took this to bring us together, then let's stay together. Let's fight together. Let's pray together. Let's stand together. Now, Reba, come here. She don't want me to do this, but come here. Run up here, baby. I want to give you, and I'm going to turn this over. They don't want to talk as long as me, Mayor. And I appreciate this opportunity. I want y'all to see this beautiful young lady. This is my daughter. This is my daughter. And you want to tell them anything about you? No. You want to tell them why health care is so important to you? Huh? You want to tell them?
I can.
Okay. I want you to see, because I think about if we were living here. I want her to tell you quickly her story. See, her story. She told us to Senator Hagan as a way to push Senator Hagan to vote for affordable health care.
I think healthcare is important to everyone, especially people with pre-existing conditions, because people like me are put into situations that we can't control. When I was only a baby, I was diagnosed with hydrocephalus, which is a brain condition, and basically I was saved, and I'm here now. But I remember, going to the hospital and looking around and seeing so many other people there waiting for help. And, I often think about it now. What if they didn't have health care? Some of them probably didn't. It was such a long wait for me, but I had health care and I got taken care of. And I'm here today, and, I had a brain condition, but here I am today, on the honor roll at school, doing good. So I think it's important to just think about other people and not just ourselves.
Amen. Amen. She's 20 years old. She's last year a straight A student at North Carolina Central on full scholarship. But number of times we've had to take her to the emergency room. And we haven't had to do it in a while, but early on. And I think about that. This was in my mind. What if we had to drive 3 hours? I don't mean to put her on blast, but you can't see it, but I know right here on the right side of her head there's a button.
Matter of fact,
right here on the right, yeah. I thought that was your big head. But that's on the right. But it's actually a button there that if she ever has the swelling, we can press it until she gets to the emergency room. Now, how many children around here in this age have hydrocephalus? Have shunts? What they call them? Shunts in their head. Now, where I am, I would only have to press it for 5 minutes. Imagine a parent, the trauma of having to press it for 3 hours or 2 hours or an hour. That's not right. And it doesn't have to be. And we're going to fight to make sure it's not so. Dr. Williams with the Old North Medical Society and President Booth, I'm going to turn this over to you. I apologize for taking a little time, but this is our good friend that's joining now.
Mr. Mayor, Council, community, Dr. Boyette, I'm here on behalf of the Old North State Medical Society. We are a society that's been in existence for 127 years. Our mission is and has always been to help the underserved, the poor, and the people who have little or nothing. We heard about this problem here, and I really didn't realize how dire it could possibly be until I drove down here tonight. It's a long ways. It's a long ways down here. But Dr. King once said, of all the injustices inflicted upon mankind, the lack of medical care has to be the worst. That was several years ago, but the principle still applies today. I must say I'm proud of the vigilance and the steadfastness this community has shown to try to preserve your hospital. And I want you to know we as an organization will do anything we can to try to help you in this fight. I know it's getting late, so I'm not going to say much, but if anything we can do, we're with you. Thank you.
Thank you. You that don't know me, I'm Bill Booth. I'm the president of the Beaufort County Branch NAACP. This is personal to me. I'm happy to see Coach Baker and Mr. Ebert and his family here. We go way back. He was my teacher back in the early days. But I think back even further, when people like my mother and some of your family worked in the Crab House with bandages on all 10 fingers because they were bleeding, but they worked to make Belhaven and Beaufort County the county and the town in which it is. In their senior glory days, why should they have to suffer the indignities of having to drive from Tennessee or Belhaven to Washington or Greenville to get medical care? when they have worked so many years, there have been so many lives sacrificed to make Belhaven and Beaufort County and this hospital what it is. You know, it bothers me. I'm part of the suit that's supporting this hospital through the NAACP, and we will continue to fight to our last breath, and I'm sure Mayor O'Neill knows that we're committed. We're committed to make a difference here. We're committed to save this hospital and this emergency room. So, you know, I don't want to continue to talk because I get emotional, because it's personal to me. It's personal, and I'm sure you're here because it's personal to you. You know, we as a community have sacrificed for this community. We have sacrificed for this hospital. We have sacrificed to be the people that we are. God has blessed us to be the people that we are. We aren't here by accident. We aren't here because we chose to be. It's because it's in our heart. It's in our desire. It's in our DNA to do the right thing, to care for one another, to reach out and touch the ones that can't help themselves or can't speak for themselves. And that's the goal and objective of NAACP, to speak truth to power. And as long as God allows me to speak, I will do that. So y'all continue to pray for me, pray for the NAACP, that we can truly be what God wants us to be. Thank you.
My name is Malcolm Waddy. I'm a new resident here, just a little less than 2 years. And I want to speak from the standpoint of relocation. I relocated here to Belhaven because I wanted to make this my final stop and make it my home, and which I did. But I will say part of I would say maybe even 90% of the reason I chose to make Belhaven my home was the fact that they did have a hospital system here close. And as you see, I'm dressed in Belhaven Fire Department. My background is first responder emergency care, and I've been trained in emergency medical system, and I'm glad, and I kind of cheated because I saw one person's note, and you know about that golden hour. And as an emergency technician, I want to put you in the point where I was years ago as a driver for an EMS unit. And now, if the hospital was to close, and I got a paramedic in the back, and we got a critical care patient, and now we leave from Belhaven to go to Greenville on our great road system, as much as we are trained to drive safely and care, you know we're going to step up that speed. And what I've known in my 40 years of doing this service, the inevitable can happen. Someone cross our path as we're responding, because we're going to respond and probably not out of control, but we're going to use best judgment, but those things happen. My last year at Washington, D.C. is where I did my fire service. We rolled a fire engine responding to a medical call, and we were close to our facilities. So you can imagine with that poor driver in our medical units here, knowing that they got a critical patient, that they got to drive all the way to Greenville with the conscience in mind that golden hour. And that golden hour starts from the time we dial 911 till that medical unit come to your home, assess, treat, and now we got to transport. 15, 20 minutes could elapse easily. So now we got to make up that time. So if we do end up that way, believe me, and I will say to you, if you see that medical unit responding, yield, give them room. Okay? That's all I have to say. And lastly, I want to personally thank the mayor for all the untiring work you're doing trying to save our hospital. I really do appreciate it.
Hello, my name is Fred Moore. I live about 3 miles going towards Hyde County. My mother used to work here in this building right here. She had sickle cell anemia. My mother stayed sick 3 to 4 nights out of every week. We had to bring her to Punga District Hospital to get shots to stay alive. We didn't have the money. We didn't have the medical procedure that we needed, the thing to stick her with. We couldn't afford it. But I used to bring her 3 nights out of every week, sometime every night. It cost me $25, which I didn't have, to pay the doctors. Dr. Boyd was her doctor. He said, bring her anyway. So I say to Vitamin tonight, if you get rid of this hospital, look how many people it's going to affect towards Hyde County back this area. I have heart condition, 3 heart attacks, 2 major strokes. Look at me today. Because of God, because of Dr. Boyd. Just happened to come back to Belhaven, to the hospital. Saved my life. Last year, I came to the hospital. My sugar was 1,600. Another lady, sugar was 1,650. I've been in service. The only reason I'm here today, I'm pretty sure, the doctors, and I had health care through the VA. I had 5 bags of life support hung over my head. The other lady didn't. She died. Health care, issues like this. This hospital saved lives. I'm still standing here today. So I say to Vita, don't close this hospital. We need this hospital. Because I know 3 miles from Leachville to Belhaven, might not seem further than none of y'all, because y'all stay here in Belhaven. But if you got to thumb a ride, or you got to look for a ride, sometimes Dr. Boyd said, leave her at the hospital. A good man. He didn't have to do it, but a good man. And I say to Vita tonight, if you close this hospital to people from Hyde County, Leachville, not only Belhaven and Pantico, and the other areas around here, a lot of folks gonna die. You don't want that over your head. I just say tonight, we all gotta pray and put God first and keep these doctors and this hospital open. That's all I gotta say.
I'm Deacon Donnell Clark. Listen, I care a lot about this hospital. Why? Because some of my grandkids and my daughter have been down there. But I'm going to say this. The affectionate, fervent prayer of a righteous man availeth much. And Hebrews 11:1 said, faith is the substance of things hoped for and the evidence of things not seen. Now, we don't see the way, but we know God can make a way for us to keep this hospital. And we believe by the help of God and by the faith that we have, faith without works is dead. Now, if we don't have faith, then Vita gonna come in and do whatever they want to do. But I'm gonna tell you, they can't tear down what God has built up. God has built this hospital. This hospital, Dr. Boyd is my doctor. And I'm going to tell you, back in the years, he may have forgotten. But when Miss Sutton, who went on to be with the Lord, raised me, and I swallowed a fish bone right out there to the park. I was playing basketball. And when I went home and ate some fish, and I swallowed that bone. But she took me down there to Pungo District Hospital, and I stayed there for a while. Maybe Dr. Boyd forgot, but I tell you one thing, many of lives have been saved through Dr. Boyd, through Dr. Bateman, through others that have worked so hard for this hospital. And by God's help, we're going to keep our hospital. It ain't going nowhere. Just keep the faith and pray together. God bless you.
A lot of people know me. My name is Mildred Bowman. I live here in Belhaven. I've lived here all my life. At 7 years old, I shot myself by accident by playing with some live gun shell bullets. And if it hadn't been for the hospital and Dr. Wright, I'd be dead. During this time, Dr. Boyd and other people around have helped keep me alive, plus my family members. Without this hospital, they're going to be sorry that they let it go. Pantier LLC is making one of the biggest mistakes they ever made. I was at that meeting that night and I told them so. I also told them that they had people there that had been to that hospital and that they would probably have to have it again. I regret that it happened the way it did, but we were overruled and nobody can help that part. But I had the faith that God is going to see us through. There's a lot of people in that hospital that has been treated. My husband was one of them. And with Dr. Boyette and them working hard as they could not keep him here. They contacted Greenville. They said that they did not have a bed for him at the time. He was number 6 on the list. They worked for 2 to 3 days trying to get him in Greenville. Finally had to transport him to Tarboro. We spent 13 days there. By the grace of God, he's alive. He came back to Punga and finished his treatments there, and he's able to walk today. Not as good as he did at that time. He's been sick several times. He's used that hospital 4 times since 2011. But I got to say one thing. If we keep our faith, God will see us through, and we will keep this hospital. And if everybody remembers, a few years back, they wanted to take the hospital away from us and close it. Everybody got together and prayed around that hospital, and that hospital was still standing. They wanted to demolish that hospital. They want to pay Pantier LLC money to do away with the building. That does not make any sense to me. Y'all keep the faith, keep good hope. Send the letters to the congressmen, write them, call them, do whatever you can. But keep and back everybody that's wanting to keep this hospital here. We need it. And thank God for all of you.
Bringing the meeting to a close. I think it's really important that everybody understands that the efforts that we've been taking to save the hospital are not over. In fact, yesterday I went to the county commissioners and asked for them to form a subcommittee to look into helping us. I've had some conversations with some commissioners, and we're going to have some success working with them, I think. And I think a lot of people don't think we are, but we are. I've talked to some of them, and they want to help us. They know how bad this is and how much it's going to harm this part of the county. There's going to be things asked of the town of Belhaven, things asked of Hyde County to make this thing work. We need everybody to pull together. If we had known from the beginning that Pantier Creek LLC was going to work against us and undermine us, we would have taken these actions 6 months ago. But the sad thing is, the reason we're in the late final push with this deadline approaching is because we were misled by people with Pantier Creek LLC. We had meetings, and they said they were with us. Dr. Boyette asked them to raise their hand if they weren't with us. Nobody raised their hand. And then I submit to you that we'd have an emergency room in this deal if we had not been constantly undermined by the leadership of Pantier Creek LLC. So I think it's important to remember that the county, we're working with the county. I've got a meeting Thursday at 2 o'clock with some county commissioners to try and work out a solution. You need to keep the faith. You need to pray for that meeting and that I'm successful there. The other thing is the civil rights complaint. That civil rights complaint does have teeth, and the people at NAACP think we're going to get something out of it, but we shall see. But anyway, all is not done. I want to touch on a couple of things to give you an idea of what's taken place in the past so that maybe it won't happen again. Pantier Creek LLC, a lot of you have seen the video where I was blocked at the door. Ellen Allen slammed the door on my foot. Dr. Boyette and I finally got inside, or Dr. Boyette was inside, I got inside. And then if all of us saw the way Dr. Boyette was treated in that meeting, we would all be incensed. It was pitiful, disrespectful, rude, and any other words you can think of. It was so bad it made me angry. And I had one of the most angry speeches I've ever had because I was insulted for the way they treated somebody that had 49 and a half years of experience and dedication to our community. And everybody knows Dr. Boyette and I don't see eye to eye on everything, but you can't deny what he's done. And for them to be that way, it was insulting. I know Mildred was probably insulted in the way he was treated. Pantier Creek has a leadership right now that for some reason they have decided to align with Vidant, and they have got their minds closed. So what I want to do quickly is talk to the members of the LLC and hope they see this, and let them know that they were misled at that meeting that night. I actually came across a letter that was sent to the members of the LLC after the meeting where it said that Vidant had fulfilled its obligations. That is an outright lie. They have not fulfilled their obligations. The contract said that they didn't promise to keep a hospital here. You just heard Reverend Barber speak. What did that sound like? Now you can say it's not dark outside. They don't make it so. And that's the equivalent of what they're doing, is saying it's not dark outside right now. They also tried to make the board members, not the board members, but the members feel like they were going to be personally responsible for raising the $3 million. They even did the math and said it was going to be $28,000 apiece for each one of you. Do y'all want that? Well, that's never been the case. That's why you have a corporation, an LLC, is so they don't have personal responsibility. The attorney the town had in that meeting said there were so many misrepresentations made that finally he had to stand up and speak and say that he didn't agree with his colleague. That was a sham of a meeting. Those people were misled. That is why that vote was like it was. Those people wanted Dr. Boyette to speak for 3 minutes. They wanted me to speak for 3 minutes. And they wanted to take the whole meeting. They didn't even want me in the room. They didn't want, and who knows more about trying to save this hospital than I do? I've been in every meeting, every step of the way. They didn't want me even in the room. They didn't want the viewpoint of someone trying to save the hospital in that room. That tells you that something's sick about those managers of that LLC. Something's wrong. Something's going on. I don't know what it is, but for them to have that viewpoint and to be that stern with it, slam the door on people, not want people to talk, disrespect 49.5-year physician, is wrong. And the members of that organization need to think again about what they did. Most likely next week, we're going to be trying to get another meeting with that LLC if I'm successful this week. And we're going to have a new proposal for them. They said the $3 million was a problem. We're going to try to get up to $3 million. And we might do it. We've got a good chance at it. Well, when those members come back and they sit in a meeting again, assuming their managers will call a meeting, because the last meeting they had, the reason they had that meeting is because myself, Councilman Goff, Dr. Boyette, and Dick Ray went around and got the signatures to call the meeting, because the managers wouldn't even call a meeting for the members to see the business plan. Something this important to all of us, life or death, they didn't even want their members to see the business plan. And then when they showed them the business plan, they didn't want any ideas about how to save the hospital to be in the room. They wanted to limit us, demean us, joke about us, laugh at us from the back of the room. So I think it's important that all of us remember that that decision was tainted by false information, and a lot of it. What I understand is that Vidant has offered the LLC $800,000 to tear down our hospital. And for some sick reason, these 4 managers think that's a good idea, to tear down a building that's got a value of about $9.6 million, to take $800,000 and tear it down. And I want the members of the LLC, if they get to come to another meeting, which I hope they do next week or the first of the following week, if they get to come, I want them to come with an open mind. And I want a meeting where all sides are heard. Because if all sides are heard, that vote will be just as hard the other way. What you had was some people in there who were intimidating and forcing an issue their way. They didn't have any regard for the townspeople of Belhaven. So that is Deb Sparrow, Lynn Ross, Darren Armstrong, Brantley Tillman. If you know them, you need to call them. And you need to tell them they need to be trying to work to save this hospital, not kill it. Because those 4 people are spending their time killing our hospital. There's no reason for it. There's ways to save it. They've done absolutely nothing to try and save our hospital. Zero. And they've done all they can to kill our hospital. Some people say don't bring up names. Well, let me tell you something. When a group of people is endeavoring to kill our health care in our community, the people need to know about it. It'll be the same thing if somebody was robbing from us. We need to know who it is so we can stop them. Those are the people that we need to be talking to. And the next meeting that's called, I hope that those people will get on board, understand what the will of the people is, and try to find a way instead of finding a way not to. So I would like to ask, go into miscellaneous mayor and council concerns. I would like to ask the council for someone to give me a motion and pass a motion that would allow us tomorrow to draw up a resolution of the emergency of saving our hospital with details in it to be sent to Senator Hagan, Senator Burr, Congressman Jones, Congressman Butterfield, and also to Bill Cook and Paul Tyne, our state legislators. Can I get a motion for that to be drawn up tomorrow?
I so move.
Do we have a second?
I second.
All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. All right. Thank you. And let's see. Is there any other business we need to talk about? Oh, the civil rights complaint. Once again, an investigator has been assigned to it, and it is working. They've also, the investigator has contacted the Justice Department, the U.S. Justice Department, to get involved in it because of the urgency. I have read the emails from the attorneys back and forth. So there is something taking place there now, and once again, maybe if we pray hard, something will come from there to give us time. If we had another 6 months, if we had another 3 months, I can guarantee you 100% we can get to $3 million up. We may be able to get to $3 million up in the next couple of weeks, all right? But it's a tough endeavor, and I need your help. And if you can call somebody, call them. Any other comments? If not, I'm going to adjourn the meeting. Meeting adjourned.